I love villains. I love seeing a villain cause absolute chaos. I love seeing them push our heroes to their breaking point. A while back, I made a video breaking down the thematic roles of the villains in some of my favorite movies, the Gore Verbinski Pirates of the Caribbean films, discussing their roles as narrative foils for each of our three protagonists: Barbosa for Jack Sparrow, Davy Jones for Will Turner, and Cutler Beckett for Elizabeth Swann. And while I had a ton of fun making that video, I do think I only scratched the surface when it comes to how those characters would have been created by the writers. So today, I'll be discussing the thematic and narrative role of Captain Hector Barbossa in Curse of the Black Pearl. Here's the thing though, the only way to break this down is by reverse engineering the Curse of the Black Pearl. Let me set the stage. You've been hired by Disney to write a screenplay based on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Disneyland. It's looking like they want to have a few things thrown in. They want a story with a fun, heroic pirate going on fun adventures, and they want a pretty basic narrative similar to the classic adventure stories Disney made over the years. A proverbial knight in shining armor saving a princess from an evil wizard. From everything I've seen about the early production of Curse of the Black Pearl, the goal was to make a by-the-books fairy tale with some iconography from the ride. That's a pretty easy premise to work with, so let's reverse engineer that. So we have our general premise. We want a hero's journey style adventure movie. Let's spice this up a bit. We have two worlds we're exploring, the world of English civilization and the world of pirates. Our protagonists are Will Turner and Elizabeth Swann. Jack isn't the protagonist in spite of him being literally me for real. So we have a general idea of who our main characters are and the world we're setting them in. Okay, let's toss in our already existing basic plot. A group of pirates kidnap Elizabeth, so Will has to save her. Nice. Now we're going to need to flesh out the cast of characters based on these themes and basic premise. Then we can work out the minutiae of the plot once we have these concepts figured out. So now we have the quest to save Elizabeth from evil pirates. Now we're going to need to define each side. What makes Will our hero? Surely he isn't the only person going after Elizabeth, right? Well, let's toss in her father and make him the governor, which justifies the in-universe resources at his disposal to try rescuing her. All right, but who do we have personally overseeing her safe rescue? Well, Commodore Norrington, of course. It makes sense that the governor would send his army to save his daughter, but what if we amped up the emotional stakes a little bit? We make Elizabeth and Norrington have their own romantic thing going on, making her rescue personal for all parties involved, but also humanizing Will's narrative foil. So now we have a fully fleshed out British faction, a group of people who want to do the right thing, but their shortcomings with effectiveness make Will appear even more heroic. Now we need the other half of this world. Pirates of the Caribbean is, of course, about pirates. So it's time to include our cast of pirates. We need two things. Firstly, we need our counterbalance to Norrington, but we also need to define the dastardly black-hearted cur who kidnapped Elizabeth. Our foil to Norrington should represent everything he isn't. Norrington commands respect and is seen as a confident and intelligent military commander. But our new pirate character, Jack Sparrow, is a seemingly unintelligent loser who pulls up to the function without even the most basic necessities. Of course, we can't make him an actual idiot because he wouldn't survive very long in this world. So let's make him a crafty and resourceful character who can outwit anybody, but appears like an idiot, which he takes full advantage of. But we should also make him very helpful for Will's adventure, which could provide some neat contrast with how unhelpful Norrington is with this. Okay, so now we have someone as a foil to Will on the other side of the spectrum, an example of how pirates can be good people. Well, of course, we already have our pirate villain who kidnapped Elizabeth. Now we got something neat, because we could have him be one of the few people who could actually outsmart Jack. Want to up the stakes a bit? Jack has a personal vendetta against Barbosa, so instead of him just helping Will for the sake of it, he has something he wants. And to tie everything together, we need a reason for why he kidnapped Elizabeth in the first place. Well, he's cursed. He needs something Elizabeth has, which we can use to kill two birds with one stone, and even give an origin for how Elizabeth and Will even know each other. She has a piece of gold he once owned, and, in fear, she hid her name from the pirates, incorrectly assuming they wanted her for ransom. So instead, she gave herself Will's last name, Turner. Why do they care? Well, now we can tie everything together. Barbosa once knew Will's father and Jack, and he betrayed Jack, got cursed, and sent Bootstrap to the bottom of the sea without knowing he needs the blood of Bootstrap Bill's son, Will, to lift the curse. Now we're cooking with gas. Because from here on out, you can write scenes with these characters built entirely on the characterization. Here we have a fully fleshed out cast. All you need now are some basic side characters to act as foils for smaller sequences, but also to lend to the idea that these are pirates with crews. So you can have characters like Anna Maria and Mr. Gibbs as counterbalances to each other in terms of leading Jack's crew, which can provide some neat differences during sequences of heightened tension. Maybe a few comic relief characters for the sake of it, but on the whole, we have a decently packed cast of well-constructed characters. Now, this is a case where the plot of the movie came before the core theme was decided, so we'll have to create a theme rooted in the characters' story, which is entirely possible, but always find the theme of your story at some point. You shouldn't pay lip service to your theme, actually explore it. And in this case, we have a few themes that are perfectly explored through Barbossa's relationship with the other characters, which helps cement him as the most consequential character in this entire movie. One of the central themes of Curse of the Black Pearl is the contrast between legality and morality. The British Navy represents law and order, but its rigid system often results in injustice and shortcomings, while the pirates, though criminals, operate under their own code. Will Turner embodies this conflict. He is torn between being a normal guy but also being forced to engage with pirates to save Elizabeth, forcing him to ally with Jack Sparrow, a man who operates completely outside of the law but often does what is right. Barbosa, by contrast, represents the darkest side of piracy: treachery, cruelty, and a willingness to sacrifice others for personal gain, bending the rules when he sees fit. This moral versus legal struggle is the heart of the film. The British authorities view piracy as an absolute evil, yet their own rigid structure allows injustices to occur. Will, caught in the middle, initially clings to the belief that all pirates are villains. However, through his interactions with Jack and Barbosa, he learns that morality is not so black and white. Barbosa, unlike Jack, is a true villain. He doesn't just break the law, he fully embraces cruelty and selfishness. His presence in this film solidifies the thematic exploration of what it means to be lawful versus what it means to be just. Barbosa also highlights the film's exploration of freedom versus control. Jack Sparrow seeks freedom above all else, but Barbosa's version of freedom, seizing control of the Black Pearl and chasing immortality, ultimately backfires. His crew, cursed to a state of living death, is trapped in an eternal existence without feeling or satisfaction. In this way, Barbosa's plight serves as a cautionary tale about the cost of unbridled ambition, something that comes back time and time again through these movies. As I've discussed in previous videos, when a writer crafts a story, they should consider what themes they want to explore, then create characters that embody those themes. This approach naturally creates drama and conflict, and while Curse of the Black Pearl had a very different way of doing things as I explored in the earlier writing exercise, it still had characters that were intrinsically linked to some kind of theme. Will Turner is the linchpin of the film's moral and thematic conflicts, standing between the lawful British and the lawless pirates. Barbosa is crafted as the embodiment of piracy's most dangerous and chaotic aspects, ensuring that his conflict with Will has deeper thematic weight beyond mere hero versus villain storytelling. The film's narrative structure positions Will as a man with a lawful upbringing, but a deep personal connection to piracy through his father. He is pulled between two worlds: the rigid, hierarchical world of the British Navy, represented by Governor Swann and Commodore Norrington, and the chaotic, freedom-driven world of pirates, represented by Jack and Barbosa. This duality forces Will to question his assumptions about justice and morality. Barbosa, in contrast to Jack, offers the most extreme and ruthless form of piracy. He's a master manipulator who revels in power and deception. While Jack operates in a morally gray area and plays by his own code, Barbosa has no qualms about murder, betrayal, and suffering. With his initial raid on Port Royal, I think we can conclusively say he's a mass murderer, which is far beyond what Jack and his crew of merry idiots are like, highlighting the nuances at play. He represents the abyss into which piracy can descend when completely unrestrained by any sense of honor or fairness. His role in the story solidifies Will's journey, forcing him to recognize that while pirates like Jack may break the law, true evil is not defined by legal status, but by intent and action. Betrayal is a recurring theme in the film, and Barbosa is the personification of that. He betrays Jack Sparrow, marooning him on an island and taking the Black Pearl for himself. His own crew later nearly turns on him, but only after he explains that they have exhausted every means to lift their curse did they give up. This cycle of betrayal underscores the idea that pirates, by their very nature, can't fully be trusted. Yet Barbosa's betrayal of Jack Sparrow is particularly significant because it sets the entire plot into motion. Without it, Jack would not have spent 10 years plotting revenge, nor would he have manipulated Will into helping him reclaim his ship. Barbosa's actions define the story, making him not just an obstacle, but the catalyst for everything that unfolds. Barbosa acts as the perfect foil for both Jack Sparrow and Will Turner. While both Jack and Barbosa are cunning, their approaches differ significantly. Jack is an unorthodox trickster who thrives on unpredictability and wit, while Barbosa operates with brute force and intimidation. For Will Turner, Barbosa represents everything he despises about pirates. Whereas Will is driven by love and honor, Barbosa is driven by selfishness and the pursuit of power. Yet, Will's journey throughout these films forced him to embrace certain aspects of piracy, bending the rules, taking risks, and defying authority, traits that Barbosa embodies in the most extreme form. Will's eventual triumph over Barbosa marks his full transformation from an idealistic blacksmith to a true adventurer capable of standing on his own. Elizabeth Swann, too, finds herself at odds with Barbosa. While she initially tries to negotiate with him using formalities and legal standing, she quickly realizes that he operates outside these structures. He sees through her bluff when she invokes parley, demonstrating that while the pirates have a code, she has no right to protection under it. Elizabeth's growth in this film is marked by her ability to adapt and manipulate situations, ultimately being the reason Will even had a chance of surviving the Second Blood ritual. She learns from Barbosa that sometimes the rules are more like guidelines, and intentionally by the writers or not, she carries forth parts of Barbosa's philosophy through each subsequent film, in a sense, being an unwitting protege to the dastardly captain. Captain Hector Barbossa stands out as an exceptional villain in The Curse of the Black Pearl due to his intelligence, ruthless ambition, and embodiment of the film's core themes. He's more than just an antagonist. He is the driving force behind the film's events, the personification of the most dangerous aspects of piracy, and the perfect counterpoint to the protagonists. His presence elevates the story, making the stakes higher and the conflicts more compelling. Through his treachery, wit, and imposing nature, Barbosa cements himself as one of the most memorable villains in modern adventure storytelling. That's all I've got for today. Thank you all for watching. Join my channel memberships and join my Discord server. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a great day.